everybody, it's Steph Hodge here with BoardGameGeek. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to make sure you turn in those Gen Con tickets. If you're enjoying the stream, go grab a ticket and turn it in so they know what you like and we can continue making these awesome videos for everybody. And today I'm joined by Az from Lucky Duck Games, and we get to look at Tang Garden. How are you doing, Az?
I'm absolutely doing amazing. It's really, really wonderful. The coverage of the stream and everything has been outstanding. It's so nice to see you. How are you doing? Day 4, very different, obviously. Awesome. How are you holding up?
Oh, I'm great. I love talking about games. I do it all the time. It's what I love to do. So this is like a high for me. Just, if I can't be at Gen Con, might as well be talking about games, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I have had the wonderful pleasure of playing Tang Garden, but I want you to kind of give us an overview. What is Tang Garden? How is it going to change people's lives? Tell me all about it.
Oh, that's the line, right? Tang Garden, changing people's lives. So the idea of Tang Garden is that you are an architect. You're given the opportunity of this, what you're seeing right now, which is my favorite part of the game, this blank canvas essentially to work with. And you're being challenged to create and earn prestige by creating the most beautiful garden you possibly can. So you're first of all going to be landscaping. So you're going to be combining water elements, grass elements, and rock elements using tiles. And very simple tile placement you'll be used to as you start expanding across the board with your fellow architects. You're also then going to be grabbing decorations. So that'll be trees, pavilions, it'll be peonies, it'll be fish. We'll see lots of it as we chat about it. Lots of gorgeous 3D elements that you'll have, that you'll build up the garden with your fellow architects, hoping to increase your knowledge and attract nobles. And as you attract those nobles, you're going to play those characters out onto the board. They're going to look at the vistas, the panoramas, all the different decorations you've placed out. And if you manage to do it better than anyone else, you'll earn the most prestige and you'll become the most famous architect in the Tang Dynasty, essentially. So it's a 3D, beautiful, very simple to learn, but with quite a lot of variability, quite a lot of changing elements as the board grows, as different powers get presented, and as the real objectives and set collecting kind of goes through. So, well, that's it in a nutshell, but as we kind of walk through it, we'll kind of talk about all those little details and more information.
Yeah, I just want to point out before you get started that this game is absolutely beautiful. And as we play, you're going to be adding these panoramas to the board, which you can't really see top down, but there are some already there, I think, on the board. But they are just beautiful. And you're making this garden around, and it's all stunning. I got to give you props for the amazing art in this production.
Well, we have to say, so of course I'm from Lucky Duck Games, and we're very happy to be able to bring this game to retail because this was an incredibly successful Kickstarter done by the team at Thundergriff Games. They did a wonderful Kickstarter in 2018. The whole look and feel of this game is absolutely unlike anything else you're ever seeing at the table. It's such a head turner when the game is at the end of its climax and everything is built, and they've done a wonderful job. And now we're licensing the game and we're printing more of it to bring it to retail. So it is now available globally, worldwide. And that's a huge thing for us. And we're really happy to be able to facilitate that. The first print run sold out pretty much almost instantly. So we immediately had to get more ships going, which was just overwhelmingly positive for us. So yeah, it's a lot of work done by Gonzalo and his team at Thundergriff, and we tip our hats to them and to be involved with it now. And I'll talk a little bit later about some stuff that's still coming. It's a great opportunity for us. So yes.
Excellent. Well, with that said, you should get into a little bit how we play.
Absolutely. So first of all, you have to choose the first player, who was the last person that went to China. We'll not worry about that too much. I'm sure you have somebody ready to grab the first turn. And,
not me.
And generally speaking, on your turn, you'll be doing one of 2 main actions. So the first thing you can do is you can choose to place a tile. That's one of the garden tiles. And you'll see on the board there are 4 corners representing the blue water, the yellow earth, the green greenery, and also the yin-yang symbol represents some special objectives that have multiple different types of terrain on them, and sometimes special temples as well. So one of the things you can do on your turn is take one of these 4 face-up tiles. So we should have actually a tile on each edge actually face up. Perfect. Yeah. Oh, look, this is amazing. I need this in real life. I need this all the time, just real time. Perfect. So one of the first things you can do is choose one of these tiles and place it out onto the board. And when you're placing tiles, you're going to get a couple of things. So first of all, you're going to have to match up orthogonally on the board, and the location where you want to place the tile has to match up with the similar terrain type. So water to water, earth to earth, grass to grass, and similar. On your player board, you're going to find yourself starting the game. I'll talk a little bit about the setup before we get into actually taking your turn. You've got 3 tracks. And these represent your knowledge, essentially, of the 3 different types of terrain. And over the course of the game, you're going to be moving those pips up as you play tiles onto the board and gain. Perfect, that's lovely. So at the top, we've got the water, then we've got the green scenery, and then we've got the yellow earth. As you play tiles onto the board, you're going to be increasing your basically representation of how well you can use those tiles. And as you move up, you're going to get access to more characters, to more prestige points, which are essentially currency or coins. And finally, if you make it all the way to the end of your tracks, you get bonus points at the end. And that's what the game, again, is all about. You're trying to get the most prestige you possibly can. So by playing tiles, you'll increase these tracks. The second thing you can do in your turn, the alternative action you can take, is to buy decorations. Now, well, probably if you guys want to start, we'll kind of look to do a couple of turns in, because the decorations become a little bit more interesting as we've kind of started to play. So if we want to have the first player take their turn, they would legitimately start by just picking probably a tile first of all. So it's either placing a tile or choosing a decoration. I'll make a little note just as we start into the turns that you do begin the game with a character. And you'll see that each player also has a character card beside their board. And the characters are one of the most interesting and kind of diverse, like the diversifying elements of the game, because they come with both a top active power and a bottom kind of inactive power. So the top power is basically something that's when you can trigger effects. So you can see right here, the one the student is showing us is that when you're matching green elements on the board, you're going to get coins. The Emperor, unfortunately, does not actually have a starting power. And you'll see I have actually got a quick reference because there's a bunch of different characters. I'm going to just confirm the Emperor's one. He doesn't have a character skill at the start, but if he's able to see dragons at the end of the game, he gets extra 5 points, 5 prestige coins at the end. So the idea is that you're going to have these characters at the start that you're going to kind of guide your strategy. But as you raise your tracks up, if you manage to raise all 3 on your player board up to the point that there's another character, you'll be able to draw new characters and start diversifying your choices a little bit. So when you place a tile, as we've seen a tile placed onto the board there, the first thing you do is look to see what you match. So we've got, I think that's 2 earth. I'm going to squint my eyes. Yes, I think we've got 2 earth. So what you would do here is you would first of all move your earth track up 1 place to show that you have linked together earth to earth. Now, there's a second element. If you manage to enclose an area of the garden, so you basically manage to complete a section of earth, you'd actually get a bonus 1 on your track as well. So you're trying to be very selective over your tile placements and trying to get the most value out of them as possible. If you connect a path, you'll see around a lot of the elements on the tiles, there are paths as well, that will earn you coins, which is essentially like prestige and victory points at the end of the game. So you're trying to place your tiles in the best way possible to gain the most from it. Now, that's the first action you can choose, is placing tiles. The second action you can choose to do in your turn is to get decorations. Now, we have a giant stack of decorations cards. I have a sample I'll kind of show here. And these are what's represented by the 3D elements in the game. So these are your pavilions, your trees, there's peonies, there's lotus flowers, there's birds, and there's also fish. And these are elements that you're going to place out. That's it, perfect. We can see a selection of the cards. So if you don't want to place a tile, you can instead place a decoration. And the decorations each bring their own unique style of play and ways of earning points. So the first ones we saw there were the trees. When you're placing trees, you're looking to create unique sets of up to 5 trees of different types of tree. So you're hoping to get decorations that you can place out onto the board that are going to give you 5 different ones. The fish and birds are different. You want every set of a fish and a bird will give you points. The flowers are similar. Different sets of flowers will give you more points. So you're looking at, there we go, peonies and lotus flowers, again, will earn you different points. So if you want to keep taking some turns, we'll have the second player maybe place a tile as well. And we'll start building up the board.
The player will probably go for the earth because you can close off the earth, I think.
That would be ideal. An important thing to note here is that we only have 4 choices and you don't refresh them just yet. Don't refresh just yet.
Nikki.
There's a little bit of strategy here, because as you start to take tiles away, your opponent's going to get less choices. So you can absolutely take that one. That would be perfect. And that could definitely be used to close off the earth section that you have. That would be great. So you'll get 1 earth track point for connecting earth to earth. And because we've then completed that earth section, you'll get an extra point on the earth track as well, moving you up 1 stage further. That's great. Now, if you were to get the green and water up to 2 as well, you then get access to more characters. So future decisions, you're going to have to place those tiles being a bit thoughtful about which ones you want to place and where. Now, if we wanted to place a decoration at this point with the 3rd player, this might be a good option. There's a couple of things we'd have to look at. So the decoration action, the first thing you have to think about is, where can the decorations go? And you'll see, I'll hold my tile up here. On the tiles, there are little icons that represent, it's better this way, where the decorations can go. So you'll see little water symbols, that's perfect. You'll see rock symbols, you'll also see tree, that's it. You'll see tree symbols, and they're telling you that this is a location that a decoration can be placed. The other circular symbol you're seeing there is where a character can go. And we'll come back to that in a moment, because placing the characters is where the game starts to get really that little bit more deep, a little bit more strategic. So if we were to go to the 3rd player's turn, again, we would have that same option of placing a tile or placing a decoration. For example, let's go for a decoration here. And when you're placing a decoration, the first thing you do is you draw the top 2 cards of the decoration deck, plus 1 card for each set of tiles that doesn't have a visible tile on it currently. So you'd actually get, in this case, 4 cards. So you draw 4 of them, have a look at them in secret, and then choose one of those that you want to basically add to your collection. And this is doing 2 things for you. First of all, it's going straight in front of you to become part of your collection. So we could have the bridge in this case, which would be worth 2 points at the end of the game. Or we could have the willow, which is going to start us on that set collection of hopefully getting 5 different trees. Or we've got peonies, which would give us hopefully the goal of getting the lotus flowers, which would give us a set of 2 for 6 points. So we've got a decision to make about which set we want to start working towards. But we also have to make the decision about where we're going to place it onto the board. And we must place it into the corresponding symbols. So fish would go into water, the peonies and the flowers would go into the tree area. The bridges has to go into a bridge spot. So for example, the tree here would be a really good option to start that, or the flowers. This is completely up to you at this stage. And you'd want to be thinking about multiple things here as you do this. You're thinking about where you can place it. And the reason the placement is so important is because later on, we're going to be placing characters onto the board. And the characters will be looking down the columns or down the rows of the board, and decorations that they can see are going to give you not just the points from the collections that you have, but also points for what the characters can see themselves. And there'll be bonus points for certain types of decorations and bonus points for panoramas as well. Now, once someone's taken a decoration, this then refreshes all of the tiles that you'll see. And yeah, I'll hold up a couple of trees at my end as well here. So there's a bunch of gorgeous 3D tree elements, because you're going to start to fill the board of all the different varieties as you play through. And when someone takes a decoration, you refresh all of the tiles. So there's 4 now available for the player that's going to go next. And the tiles automatically refresh as well if you ever get down to just 1. So you're always going to have some choice. You're never going to be stuck with just a single tile. So I think we're back to the first player. So very simply, the first 2 actions are either placing a tile or placing a decoration. However, there are multiple other actions that you have available to you. So maybe it's a good chance to look at the player board again for a moment, because you'll see at the bottom of each player board, there are 4 lanterns, and the lanterns are really awesome because they give you this extra little bit of special power action whenever you want to do something unique to you. I'll go from right to left here, just because in terms of simplicity. You'll see the right one is 2 tiles. So you can flip this lantern over, use this tile once per turn. It's then expended for the game, and you can place 2 tiles that turn. The next one along is place 2 decorations. So instead of just 1, you could place 2. The next one is to move a character. So you can actually change the positioning of a character on the board, changing what way they're facing, what way they're looking, and how many points of prestige you might get. And finally, the most powerful lantern potentially, for those who really like to get deep into the strategy, whenever you play a character or a panorama and you use this lantern, instead of just taking off the top of the decks, you can go and find the exact one that you want. So these lanterns are once per game abilities that can add real timing and kind of specific kind of strategy to when you're going to capitalize on double tiling, double decorations, or choosing that one character, that one panorama that's going to help change the game for you. It is worth noting that you'll see, I can't quite see it here, but hopefully on the board, I believe we should have panorama tokens dotted all around the board. These are these little circular tokens. I have a couple here. I'll show a couple close up. We have the large panoramas with the mountain and sunset. That's it. Oh, you guys have got this. Oh, love it. And the little small ones for the small panoramas, because what will happen is if you place a tile onto a square that has one of these tokens on it, you'll immediately get that panorama token and be able to immediately place one of the panoramas that we talked about earlier onto the edge of the board. And as Steph said, it's a little difficult to see top down, but these are 3D artistic and beautiful paintings that go around the edge of the board. And importantly, not just are they gorgeous, but they've also got a strategic element, because as you know earlier, I mentioned you will place characters onto the board and they will look in their direction of you're facing of them, and they'll look and see all the decorations and everything that's in front of them, including the small and large panoramas in the distance. So you'll see that you've got little sets of small ones that sit in front of the big ones. And the panoramas also come with these gorgeous icons there. You'll see in the corner, there's some icons for structures, for wildlife, for dragons, and these are things that your characters are looking for. So the builders, for example, are going to want to see structures. The emperor is going to want to give you points if he can see dragons. So as you're placing tiles, not only will you be choosing where you want to match to get the most emphasis onto your track and experience, but also which symbols you could potentially get access to by placing your tiles onto these panorama spots. And the game will end when there are only 3 of those panorama pieces left on the board, or when one of the stacks of the 4 different types of scenery has been completely used. So there is a player variable ending to the game. So you must keep an eye on the stacks as they start to deplete. And you also want to keep an eye on maybe people who are trying to force the end of the game by going after those panorama tokens. So yeah, I think we can go on to the next player's turn. Maybe we could have another a tile piece, for example. I'm going to just actually bring up for a second. Yeah, we talked about the lanterns, we talked about the characters. I think that's the next thing we really want to see is the characters. So on the player board, as you increase your knowledge, once all 3 knowledge levels have reached the player character icon on one of the boards, you're going to be able to get a new character. For talk's sake, we can kind of just simulate that a little bit. So let's say, yeah, the green player managed to get all of their tokens right up to the next character symbol. You'll see that there's a stack of characters and also 2 characters face up. So at this point, you could choose to either take one of those 2 characters that are face up, or you could even take a blind one. So I can't unfortunately say exactly what characters we have there. We have is that the emperor, and I think is that the monk we have there?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, yeah, love it. So these characters now, so say for example, we had successfully got our tracks up high enough that we could choose a new character. We would choose either a random one or one of these 2. Now the monk's power, he says he gains 2 coins every time the player has to choose between 2 garden tiles or 2 decorations. So essentially he's going to give you money and give you victory points at specific timings whenever you're making the decisions about decorations and tile placement. The emperor doesn't do anything for you when he's active. He only does something for you at the end of the game. So for example, if we were to take the monk here, we would take the monk card, we would put it into our player area, and we'd also take the monk miniature character as well. Now, we have 2 characters in our possession now. However, you can only ever have 1 character's ability active at any time. So we have to choose one of those 2 characters that we have in front of us, give up their current ability, and place them into the garden, thus making their end game ability become active. So you're actually going to be cycling this changeable variable mid-game ability of the student. So the student's ability, I'll read it to keep myself absolutely right, is you gain 1 coin each time the player advances 1 or more spaces on the greenery track. So you have to choose now, do I want to give up the student's active power and place him onto the board, activating his end game scoring? Or do I want to keep the other power instead and do vice versa? So for example, we could place the student out to the board. His end game scoring basically simply says gain 2 coins up to 10 for each garden tile with greenery terrain that student can see. So if we wanted to put the student onto the board, we would need to find a tile that has a circle. It's the little circle character symbol. There's one on the starting area. Pop them down on there and then choose which way you want that character to face. That then, combined with their specific, as we mentioned, every green bit of scenery the student can see will determine how many points it's going to give you at the end of the game. And the student's active ability is now no longer relevant. We no longer use that at all. Now, what's going to happen, of course, is you're now going to start placing tiles again later in your future turns. But now you also have to think about the characters that you own who are in the garden, and potentially you want to put greenery in the student's line of sight, and potentially you want to place decorations in the student's line of sight as well, because every decoration a nobleman can see is going to increase the points that you get from them at the end of the game as well. So to sum up essentially what you're going to be doing on your turn, placing tiles or decorations. Then you've also got the option of using your lantern special powers or basically recruiting a new character. You're going to keep placing tiles, keep placing decorations out onto the board and growing and expanding it until there are only 3 of the panorama tokens left on the board, or 1 of all of the stacks have gone. At the end of the game, everyone will look at a combination of their character's endgame scoring, the set collections of decorations they have for the trees, for the birds, for the flowers, for the pavilions, for all the different elements. The pavilions, actually, I have to mention for a second, they're one of my favorite because they're one of the most contentious scoring. The pavilion essentially says, whoever has built the most, oh, my camera's not as good, you guys have got it. Whoever has built the most pavilions at the end of the game gets 12 points. Whoever's built the second most gets 6. So the number of pavilions you build can be such a fantastic game swinging thing at the end. You total up everyone's points at the end, and whoever has the most prestige once you've built your entire 3D diorama is going to win. And that's Tang Garden in an essence.
Yeah. Just quickly, you can place your people inside the pagoda once you actually,
Yes.
So that opens up a space for a person to stand. Same with the bridges. So these decorations that you're making also give you opportunities to place your dudes as well.
So the decorations you're building are determining scoring in such a variety of different ways, which is really wonderful. And you don't even have to focus on the characters a huge amount. You can focus primarily on the set collection and on the decorations. And actually, something I really want to mention that I alluded to earlier, the guys at Thundergriff are really keen on supporting Tang Garden on an ongoing basis. And every single month, they are bringing out new slight modifications to the game, so you can actually tweak how you want to play. And the first one they released is called the Decoration Showcase, which means whenever you're drawing decorations, you actually have the option to pay coins to choose face-up decorations. Or if you want to, you can actually draw a bunch of decorations, and instead of discarding all the ones that you don't take, you can actually add some of them to the decoration showcase. And you end up with a selection of face-up decorations that you and other players can then kind of fight a little bit over. And it brings even more strategy to the set collection style of play versus the characters and panoramas and their ability styles. So it's got a huge amount of variability straight away, but there's going to be a monthly release and a monthly scenario coming out now, essentially ongoing this year from Thundergriff, to basically give you a few more different ways to tweak and add a bit more flavor to it as well.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And I know there's already a bunch of expansions. So can you tell us if you guys are going to be releasing those as well? Or
so at the moment, we've only gone with the base game at Tang Garden. We're kind of trying to gauge how much we're going to go in with it. We think we might look at the expansions as well. It's going to depend on everybody out there really and seeing just how much interest there is in it, of course. So it's something we're kind of looking at, but not done. So at the moment, only the base game is available in retail worldwide.
Okay, and so this is the second print run, and it's currently available right now, or is it coming soon?
It's widely. Yeah, the first, when it initially came out in June, it was like rockets. It was gone. We couldn't react quick enough, but now it's completely restocked worldwide, so you should have no problem getting it from your local stores.
Wow, that's amazing. And if you are fans of playing online, I know you can play it on Tabletop Simulator. I've played it a bunch there, so if you don't get to go out and play.
the guys at Thundergriff actually have been outstanding. They've actually not only Tabletop Simulator, but they've also now done Tabletopia as well. And they've literally just last week fully updated the Tabletopia. So it's now exactly what you're getting in the box when you play. So you've also got a solo mode on there as well. Like the game comes with a solo mode built into it also. So even if you want to just give it a go yourself on Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, you can do that.
That's amazing, especially with, you know, these days where not everybody's having game nights. So
Absolutely.
getting a chance to try Tang Garden, I would highly recommend it. I really love it. So go check it out. It's available now. Get it. Tang Garden. Thank you so much, Az, for joining us.
Thank you, Steph.